Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to me. Okay, ready? All right, ladies. Well, you are in for such a treat because if you're not new here, you've heard me talk about health being wealth for a very long time and loving fashion and investing in things that move the needle around wellness in general. And today, being here with you, Priscilla, just feels so much like a serendipitous episode. And I'm so excited for you to share all of the things. So, without further ado, tell everybody who you are and what makes you the magic person that you are.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm very grateful to be here. I think it's a great opportunity. First off, I love what you're doing
Thank
and,
you.
The knowledge and wisdom that you are giving just women in general. So happy to be here.
Thank you.
A little bit about me. I think that right now, what I'm here to do, my mission with these projects that I've created, is really to empower people, but mostly women, to reclaim, their health, their identity, their future through these intentional choices. And these choices really start with what we put in and on our bodies. And this has, a repercussion that seeps into our children because they will learn this too. So this is that wealth that we're giving ourselves. And then there's the generational wealth too, through these products, through these conscious projects that I have built to enable us to live healthier lives.
Yeah. And I'm so glad to hear you say that it trickles down to your kids because, it's a lot of pressure, really, because as women and moms and dads might feel it some too. But, when you stop to realize the enormous task that we are given in raising up these great little people, you realize too, they're hearing and doing and seeing things that are forming who they become. And so I feel like a lot of us put a lot of pressure to do all the research and figure out what the best things are, not only with money, but health and, what their activities are doing, all of that. And to have someone like you who has done so much research and the heavy lifting for us to be able to say, okay, tell me what you know, it's like a cheat code. So tell us, how did you even find yourself in this world?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It goes back to my actual educational background.
Okay.
I was at the College of Medicine and I was a biological scientist for some years. I was in grad school and my mission was to be a medical doctor, was to be an MD. And that's what I spent 9 years working towards. And somewhere along the way, I realized I started questioning the system. With me, everything starts with questioning the system and figuring out what's going on with me and where do I want to be and where do I want to go. So that's how it all started. I have the medical and the science background. And then over the years, I worked in real estate. I had, my own, always this entrepreneur spirit.
Yep.
And breaking out of the traditional medical system, I've always been interested in health, women's health in particular. And then I went and I studied Ayurveda, which is more of the Indian ancient Eastern medicine. And all of this brought me to 30s and 40s and working in technology. I'm a big believer in learning new things. Right? So as you learn and evolve, you also enable yourself and your children and your family to live better lives.
Yeah.
So all of it led to me really honing in on alternative systems to support longevity, health, everything, cognitive health, mental health, and just our bodies. With that said, working in crypto, traveling the world for many conferences, I got into natural fabrics. And then perimenopause hit. When that hit, I realized traditional medicine couldn't really give me what I needed. I wanted to get to the root cause. I wanted answers. Okay, you're giving me a prescription for anxiety. You're giving me a prescription for insomnia. But what is really happening?
Right.
Exactly. And then there's the whole story of, well, your hormones are changing. We're always changing. You'll never be the same. And that's where the whole peptide research compound really I embodied that for myself. And in embodying that for myself, there are all these women and men too, suffering from a lot of things. And we realize that this could be very helpful. So that's the whole peptide research compound educational arm. Then, as I'm aging and raising my children, my skin, well, I woke up with melasma. My body doesn't feel good. Well, I have lipedema. So as these things were happening to me, I started seeking solutions. And this is how all the businesses kind of were birthed
Came together
out of necessity and just learning new things, learning new systems.
Always learning. That's
Yes.
what we try and say all the time. You always have to be learning
Yes.
because everything changes so fast.
Yes.
So I want to just take a minute on, let's start with the peptides because that's a hot topic. It's
Yes.
helped so many people that I know.
Yes.
For anybody that's listening that hears that but doesn't understand, can you just explain very high level, like what is a peptide and what does it do to help?
Sure.
I know there's a lot of options, but
Sure. So peptides are just natural signals. They're short. Think of a protein, like you eat a steak and your body cuts it up into short little pieces of proteins, right? Amino acid chains. These are signals that your body will naturally produce based on what you ate, what you ingested, that will signal the body to do certain things. Oh, make more tissue. Oh, make more cartilage. Repair the gut lining. These are all signals that your body will naturally produce. Well, what ends up happening is we live in a toxic environment. So we're bombarded with things, everything from blue lights from the screens, from, microplastic consumption, everything. The body starts losing its signals. It starts no longer producing and communicating as it once did.
it's like foggy.
It's
Everything's foggy.
Mental fog. Your hormones are declining. So with the toxic load, the body is made perfect, but at some point it can no longer detoxify and communicate properly. We have peptides that have been studied since the 80s. It's actually earlier. Insulin, by the way, is a peptide. So it's not like this is like a new fad.
Right.
And these compounds, we know now, we have decades, some of them we have 4 decades of research, can really help your body do what it needs to do with these signals that it recognizes. It would already produce it, but is no longer producing it. It's no longer efficient. And we can help certain things, whether it's, to avoid surgery for, a injury, a joint, or, skin repair, hair, so many things. Yeah.
Okay. I want to say something too, because this is something that I found, and even with my girlfriends, going through, and my history, the listeners do, going through something like leukemia and chemo as a teenager, I became hyper aware of all the garbage that we put in our bodies. And it can become really overwhelming, you guys. So as you start to explore, I want to give you permission to not be perfect because you can't do it all right. And unfortunately, and that's where I think what you do is so wonderful because we're never going to eliminate all of the toxins that we're surrounded by, that we're ingesting. It's just not going to happen. So be aware, learn, but don't strive for a totally toxic-free life or body because it's not going to happen. So give yourself the grace right out of the gate. But with that, learn about the things that we can do. And it always boggles my mind that people don't take their health more seriously. And I think until you have an event or something that happens to make you realize that nothing else really matters if you don't feel good, there's so much room there. So for somebody that's listening and doesn't feel good, maybe it's a very simple fix of just getting things tweaked, but that's where finding somebody who has done the heavy lifting and the research and understanding, like a Priscilla, can be such a resource. Would you say most of your clients are women?
So yeah, most of my audience, and I call them audience because they're all taking control of their own literacy, right? The health literacy.
Learning.
So you learn. And as you learn about your body and yourself as a woman, as you change, you could really empower yourself to, wait a minute, why do I have this stubborn weight gain? I'm doing everything right. What's wrong? Well, have you checked your hormones? How's your cortisol levels? How old are you? Estrogen, progesterone, everything's on the decline from the minute that you're in your 30s.
Mhm.
35, it really just starts dumping. And it's a progressive, slow decline. So just to answer your question, the number one thing is I don't feel good. And not feeling good comes with different aspects, whether it's low levels of energy, stubborn weight gain that is holding me back from feeling confident and, being able to do things. And then there's the mental and the brain and the
Mhm.
fog that comes with being in your 40s too. So most of it is women 35 and up. And I have a lot of athlete men too that are recovery and
Oh, okay.
injury. That's been very interesting. But the whole thing is to enable the education. You can learn certain concepts. You don't have to be an expert. Like you said, you don't have to be perfect. And you don't have to get too, how can I say, analytical about
Mhm.
it to where you have analysis paralysis, but just learn certain things and then go with your intuition.
What do you think is the one thing that someone listening that is thinking, "Oh my gosh, I don't pay attention to any of that." Like, what is the one thing, and you don't have to go into, like, too much, but
Mhm.
that one thing that would make a quick change for anybody that is just so bad for us that we do?
Okay, when it comes to like
Anything.
toxicity, okay.
Yeah.
I'm really big right now. I don't know if you saw there's a Netflix just had a series. It's a documentary. It's called
Oh, yeah.
I think it's
Plastic detox or something like that?
so they're bringing concepts that I've been talking about for years. And I think that if you can reduce the endocrine disruptors in small everyday things, so plastic and BPAs and phthalates, we know it's harming our children. So
Mhm.
my children are aware, they read labels, they know they have their stainless steel bottles. So just being aware of the endocrine disruptors, because everything runs off hormones. Hormones are also signals, right? Some of
Mhm.
these peptides function like these hormones. So if we can just be aware of, for me, it started with the natural fibers. Wearing polyester, it's on your skin
And
all
your skin is
day.
your biggest organ.
Yes, and it's absorbing all of there are lawsuits now as well. I don't know if you saw
Mm-mm.
Shein, the fast
Mhm.
fashion company,
Mhm.
they're being sued because of the toxic chemicals in their synthetic fabrics that are affecting children. Then there's a huge investigation with Lululemon because of the
Oh, I heard about
phthalates, the
that.
BPAs.
Mm.
I spent 15 years wearing Lululemon. I'm not trying to throw any particular brand under the
Sure.
bus, but just being aware that everything that we put, just touching the skin, for
Yeah.
example, is affecting our hormones long term, especially our children.
So, like plastic bottles, it's easy to avoid those
Yes.
as much as you can. And like even your Tupperware at home,
Yes.
like you're
Don't put it in the
putting,
microwave.
oh, yeah, but like
Close.
glass. And you know what's really funny about that? When I was first diagnosed with leukemia, the doctors, I mean, I was super healthy. So we were all kind of like, how did this
Wow.
happen? And one of the first questions they asked my mom is, do you ever heat up or freeze plastics?
Mm.
And my mom, and of course, we'll have no way of knowing, and it could have just been a contributor to anything. But I was a cheerleader and she used to freeze water bottles
For
and
you to
put them in
take.
so I could have them all day. And of course, she thought of that. And I'm not saying, like, again, you guys, it's such a slippery slope. There's so much information out there, but it's like those little things.
Yeah.
Like you said, try and not have plastic water bottles or try to.
Wear natural fabrics once a week. See how you feel.
Mhm.
Just, wear that cotton and that linen and just see how you feel. You actually, especially in Florida, because it's so humid, you will feel a difference. You're
Mhm.
less cranky.
Mhm.
Your body can breathe. Your
Mhm.
mind's clearer. So if you just go by how you feel,
Well, and it's
really.
all the stuff that when, you look back at pictures and obviously being here in Florida of like what women wore in like the 1800s
80s.
and we think,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, how do they do it?" Because they were wearing like
Polyester.
linen and
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you have built s not 1, not 2, 3, I mean, and probably many more to come. How how did you start? Did you always set out to say, "I wanna be an entrepreneur"? I know you said going into medicine, but I think some people, entrepreneurship is in us when we don't know it. Did you
Yes.
recognize that when you were younger? Like, were you the girl having the lemonade stands to save up for something? Did you have a family that talked about money as a tool and thinking about it and saving and investing? Or did you find yourself drawn to this world and think, "Okay, I wanna start a business. Holy cow, what do I do now?" And then how did you do it?
That's a great question, by the way, because as you were asking me, my mind was going everywhere. And I always wanted to learn my science, and I was in that system. I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. But then I think it's what you brought up initially, that I always had this entrepreneurial spirit inside that I didn't know. But I did watch my mom build her empire from scratch.
Oh, I love
So I think
that.
subconsciously, this is the behavior that I learned through my mom. She struggled and built her real estate as I'm aging as well. So I watched that. So I think it's also a learned behavior to watch a woman build and find her power. But I always, like I said, I questioned everything that I'm doing. Like I would do it for a while, but I'm like, wait a minute.
Do it better.
Something is not right, and I worked for the CDC in virology. I started looking at how are we designing these vaccines? Everything I always started questioning. I'll stay in the box for a little bit, learn everything in the box, but then it's ready to,
Poking holes.
I want to jump out. So that's how that evolution happened, really, for me.
Oh my goodness. And for any of you listening that have ever felt a twinge of guilt like I have, and I'm willing to bet every one of us have, about leaving to go do something when you're a mom and you're building. I have had so many instances of people saying that, and it always is something that I put in my pocket and pull out when I need a reminder that our kids, going back to their watching everything, when kids see their moms building amazing things, they're not going to remember that you didn't do bath time that night. They will remember watching you build something amazing. So not to say that's better or worse than someone who's home with their kiddos, because that's amazing too, but just gives you something to remember if you're ever feeling guilty for missing something, because
I
they're
love
watching.
that. I needed to hear that because my
good.
kids do see me working a lot and they're always with me. It's if we're in public places, I have to take 3 kids into the bathroom with me
Sure you
because
do.
you're not leaving them behind.
No.
So it's good. They see me with all my devices. So thank you for that.
Well, and you're welcome. And I know having a spouse that understands that.
Yes.
Shout out to my hubby at home.
Mine too.
He will always say, he'll say, oh, like if the kids, we were on vacation and then we came home. And of course, as entrepreneurs, we all know, or anybody really, you go out of town and when you come back, it's almost like that anxiety of, okay, now it's going to be a crazy week. And I came home and I had a late couple of nights the first week we got home. And the kids were like, Mom, why didn't you didn't have dinner with us tonight?
Yeah.
And Jason stepped in and said, that vacation we just took?
Yeah.
That's why. And it's so nice to have that support because it does make a big difference. But okay, so when you started your first business, did you have any idea what you were doing, or did you have to figure it out on your own? Did you have a mentor?
No.
What did that look like?
So what it always looks like to me is how these businesses will start with the linen. Prana Collection was the first baby that I was mothering. It came out of inspiration, traveling all these huge conferences, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all over the world. And I started realizing that my body, as I'm aging as well, my body did not like synthetic fabrics. And everything I was buying out there had some kind of lining. So to answer your question is there was a problem that I needed to solve for myself. Like every entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, really builds something because she couldn't find what she wanted.
That's right.
I couldn't find what I needed. And that was, I wanted a linen blazer that didn't have synthetic polyester lining, because why am I wearing linen and I'm sweating in this polyester? So that's where that started. I am not a designer by training formally. I was in, medical background. So I just started, I know what I like, and you find the right people. And that's what having some type of financial literacy enables you to go worldwide. So I'm able to work with other countries to help me make what I need, because you can't do all of this in the United States either. So that cross-border literacy of how financial systems work really did help me, because of the crypto, push my dream. So I curated this collection based on inspirations of what I want to wear. I want to wear 3-piece suits that are natural fabrics that I can literally just pull out of my closet effortlessly and wear it anywhere I go.
How did you do that? Because I think it's always such an interesting story, or information for people because it's amazing what you learn as you go. And I don't know if I don't think we've talked about this, but I had a product that I developed and I knew what I wanted to do with it. But then going and finding the people and learning, I remember I was applying for a patent here in the US for a polycarbonate film that protected the bottom of shoes. It was called Selections. And I did it all on my own. And it's a big part of what I talk about with figuring it out, right?
Right.
But also you learn so much. And that goes back to always learning because I remember saying, great, I have this patent in the US that, it's pending. This is great. Well, now we need to go across the ocean.
Yeah.
And I had my attorney say to me at the time, this is going to get very expensive because when you're filing for a patent, you have to do it in each country.
Each country. It's not valid somewhere else. Yeah.
Right. And especially if you're doing it in, let's pick on Western Europe, like, Italy. Well, France is right there.
Yep.
So it can get crazy. But so you're doing this and you have a good knowledge of how it all works. Did you have, what did you do? Did you, on the business side? So obviously the fit, women know what we like.
Yep.
But as far as okay, how do I start? How do I go about filing or opening an LLC? How do I find the manufacturers that make sense? Did you have?
I did not have any advisors. Everything I did was I am a one-woman show.
You just figure it out.
Because I love discovering new things. And then when I become obsessed with something, I am not sleeping until this gets done. Yes, so what I did was I had enough tools in my belt, okay? Working in technology, I worked with people all over the world. So I could talk to somebody in Dubai. I worked out of Dubai.
And have them take you seriously.
Oh, yes. I worked in their government buildings, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of my stuff can be modest as well, because you're walking in these modest government buildings. So everything's purposeful. But what I learned was that I had enough tools under my belt. I understood a little bit about manufacturing, a little bit about technology. Now what we have going for us is that we also have AI. So we can research certain things. It can be very misleading, but if I can look things up and I can find the right resources and the right. Yes.
That's right. If you use it as a tool and not as an advisor, you're
good. You're good. So I was able to find people, and I really, really go back to being in blockchain and tech because I was in these other countries. I could talk to them. I could find who I needed, where I needed, and make it happen. I didn't understand anything about patterns. Like, how do I own all my patterns? This is my line. How do I know this manufacturer is not going to go make it for somebody else? So I got all of that in place. I did it all myself. And I just pushed it through because when you want something, you will learn what you need.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so true. And I hope that that's what women, all of us, but that is the secret sauce is figure it out. You can figure it out on your own.
You can.
But it's a work ethic, it's a hunger, it's a drive to do it. Because if you want to go out and make natural fiber clothing, you're not going to let the fact that you don't know something hold you back. And that's something that isn't talked about enough. It doesn't matter if you're smart or if you have money. What matters is my dad used to say, how bad do you want it? Because if you want it, we are living in a time that you can have it.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
So as you've built out these businesses, what financial advice can you share? What do you think you did really well? Or what do you look back on and think, oh my gosh, I spent X, Y, and Z and I never should have.
Mistakes, yeah.
Yeah. What were the wins? What were the learning opportunities around financial foundation, basic stuff that someone listening could learn from?
That's a really good question because we talked about this off air. I never took I took basic economics. That doesn't even count because
so many of the best entrepreneurs have no clue when they start. So
no, I had no clue. But what helped me was that I learned how alternative assets work. And that was the catalyst for my financial literacy. Although before that, I also was in real estate because my mom was a broker. So, by DNA, I guess, I
In
learned
proximity to that world, you
yes.
see it,
Yes, I bought properties. I understood the rental market. I understand some of the basics. I learned the ugly capital gains tax, all that stuff that's very painful. And that helped me have the hunger to learn alternative digital assets. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? This technology is very interesting. Everybody's talking about it. I brushed it off in 2012, which I regret because I did have a yoga student because I taught yoga as a hobby as well. He was obsessed with Bitcoin in 2012 and I brushed him off. If I would have listened to him,
I know,
it would
please.
have been a different story. But
Isn't it funny when people say like, oh, I mean, and this was, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, and I'd have clients all the time ask me about Bitcoin, and they thought they were missing out on this next great thing. And same timeline. I remember my uncle who was extremely, and I may have talked about this on the show before, but was extremely successful, multiple businesses, the kind of guy that you want to listen to. And I will never forget at Christmas Eve dinner, he said, you need to look into this cryptocurrency, this Bitcoin thing that's happening. And I'm like, meh, had we known then, right? But you
right.
never know
You
what that
don't
next
you
thing is going
don't
to
know.
be.
So, but for me in my late 30s, I got into it. So I got into the digital assets and it taught me real quick inflation. It taught me the money story, what we're told, how we print money. So just knowing that basic history of money, I was like, whoa, we've been lied to. Whoa, the bank can just close our stuff down at any moment. This means nothing. This is like paper. It's not backed by gold anymore.
Not
So
anymore.
yes, so all of these things I learned and I said, okay, this entire Bitcoin blockchain thing is really interesting. It's an exchange of value. This thing is the best performing asset of all times. You look at that chart, it's like unbelievable what you said. So I went in. I was the only female. I was the oldest because I was with a bunch of young nerds. Okay, this is a whole different generation. Okay. I get in there, I'm working with 30 nerds, and I became their boss, okay? So I just took over this whole thing. I just learned this whole system, decentralized finance. But to make the long story short, that helped me, that enabled me to make changes. Now I can make enough, save enough. I understand the money systems. Now I can bootstrap and finance my dreams based on need. So that's how I did it. But I never learned. I didn't grow up in a family where we had generational wealth per se, because my mom has raised us. She built her real estate empire. But as I was getting older, I was already in college when she started really making it.
Right.
So I learned the ethics from my working mother, the drive, because like you said, they watch us. But anytime that I find something that I'm like, okay, something is there. It sparks an interest in me and I take it full force. And that enabled me to work with other countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because similarly with my dad, he was an entrepreneur. And when I tell people and they hear my story, they think, what do you mean you didn't learn anything about money growing up? And it's like, because he didn't really start to become successful until I was in high school and going into college. And at that point, those things so that's why I'm so crazy now about talking about money with your kids. Meet them where they're at. If they're 3 years old, you're not going to explain to them what digital currency is right now because
although my kids do.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, that's not an example. But you know what I mean? Like,
yes. You don't have to
meet them
get
where they're at.
complex.
Just talk about, hey, this is what taxes are. This is what savings means.
Yes.
At their level, just expose them to the conversation because you never know. You're always growing and evolving. You never know how it's going to be. But, well, in that, I guess, same thought, what are you making sure around money? Are you having conversations with them? Like,
yes,
this is how things work. This is really important. You want to make sure that you're, doing X, Y, and Z.
yes. I keep it very simple with them. There's this book called The History of Money.
Oh, I have it.
Okay, we've read that book multiple times. We sit in the bed and we read it. We talk about salt and how the coins were made. And I try to bring, every time I traveled, I would bring them currencies from other countries. Like my daughter's like, Mom, I'm going to use this. I'm like, honey, that's from Taiwan. That's not going to work. So they have monies.
Such a great idea.
Yes, they have monies that I brought in the history of money. And then I keep it simple. I listen to a lot. My husband is really big into crypto as well. So this is how he's been doing it before I did, but I listen to the updates. I want to hear about macro and micro. And my son's like, oh, we're going to listen to Ben Cowan again, Mom. He's like, this is boring. But he listens to the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And you never know what they're going to come up with at dinner, at their friend's house to say, I know about that.
He told his teacher the other day, he's like, oh, my mom made me listen to Ben Cowan. If I hear about Bitcoin one more time, I'm going to throw up. That's what he said. So I keep it simple, but we also don't overconsume. That's another thing too. Teaching them, that everything is purposeful.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. So we keep it very simple, and they understand the value. I think that the most important thing that we can teach our children is the value of things. The value, you're getting this linen shirt. They're really heavy on learning their fabrics and their ingredients. So they read labels. So I think that will help them long term make better choices for themselves, and know the value of things. I think that a lot of the financial literacy that is missing today is that everything is disposable and valueless. And, that goes back to the health as well, like everything that you're consuming.
Take everything for granted. And
yes. And that has to do with your finances as well. So we keep it simple, but it does make sense, and we'll see how they turn out.
That book, though, that you mentioned, The History of Money, is great because it's technically like a children's book.
But we learned.
There's a ton. It's interesting, and I wouldn't say it's not like children's book like 5, but like 10, 11. Yes. If you're listening and you have one of those, a kiddo in that age group, it's a great book. You'll learn something too. Okay, so with your husband and you both being so well-versed, how do you guys approach finances in your home? Is it very much a divide and conquer? Is it one of you is driving the boat, the other one is in the boat? What is that like?
That's the first time anybody's ever asked me that question.
Really?
I love that question. It's interesting because him and I were both, how we came together is because we're both crypto nerds. And we literally talk about charts. He was a trader. He was been doing this much longer, since 2010. He read the Bitcoin white paper back then. He was born and raised, he lives in Winter Park. So he went to Rollins, and him and I, we are really into crypto. So he's the only other buddy that I have that we can talk about charts, and we're busy, right? So we love the digital asset space.
Geek out on it, right?
We geek out on it. And he's also my partner for Peptides because we love research. We love alternative. So we come together with that. We are very simple about things. We're partners with everything. He respects any decision I make, anything I say. And if he doesn't agree with it, it's fine. He just lets me do what I do. And there's almost like a dance and a harmony because we have these we value other things. The other day, I'm teaching my kids, since you asked, about gold. We went to Costco for the first time because I'm not a Costco girl.
I'm not either, but I know where you're going with this.
I went for the first time because his mom gave us a membership as a gift. So I said, okay, we got to go. So we took the kids for the first time.
And they have like a gold coins
we
or whatever,
bought
right?
gold bars. So the kids are like, this is it, Mom? This is 1 ounce? This is worth how much? So we literally bought these 3 for them, so that they understand what a gold ounce is. And we showed them the chart. Like, okay, so I think by 2030, gold is going to at least be up 50%. So we taught them this.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am totally stealing that because how cool is that? Especially if they understand. And again, a little bit of an older kiddo, but to say, hey, money used to be backed by gold.
Yes.
And this is actually what it is. The paper is just paper, but this
is gold.
Find your Costco's, ladies, and go take a peek. Because I've heard that before, but I've never thought about taking.
It was our first time, and it was this year. It was just a couple months ago. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're learning.
They're
okay. I know we weren't going to go too much into crypto and all of that stuff, but just a little blip because that is traditionally a space that is male dominated, like much, like science and finance and wealth, right? We're not here for that.
No.
For anybody listening that explain it like you have crayons in your backpack. I always like to say that. If someone's listening and they think, I hear about crypto, I don't really understand it, where is the best place for somebody to just start to learn about digital assets?
This is good. So I started years ago, and this book might be dated now because of the stuff that's happened, but I read at the time, maybe it was 2018, The Bitcoin Standard
Okay.
by Samud Safid.
Okay.
It's a Middle Eastern name, but the Bitcoin Standard, that really wasn't really about Bitcoin. It was about the history of money. So it's like the history of money, but for
But for
adults.
grown-ups. Yeah.
Yes. So that was a good base. And then I had to learn a little bit about, okay, how do computers really work? Because I'm like a tech person, but I took like a typing course. I even type with my own fingers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. So I just had to learn the basics of what a ledger is. What is blockchain technology? It is something, just think of a spreadsheet that stays there forever. Nobody can come in and delete anything. So if you think about it, there's something there. Nobody can come in and change it. It's immutable. It's decentralized. There's not one entity. There's not one Bank of America that can close your account down. It's computers. Think of computers all over the world. And you would have to shut down the entire internet for this whole financial system to collapse. And it's also an exchange of value. So the Bitcoin prices is based on the demand of the consumers, the people that own and exchange this value. And there's a limited supply. So now we go back to, wait, that makes more sense than the paper being printed, that there is no limited supply. They just print whatever they want and it becomes valueless over time. That's why real estate's so important, right? Because it's like a physical property as well. So just those basic things made me understand that, wait a minute, there's this whole system out there that people are capitalizing on that feel a lot safer than, my bank account that they just froze the other day.
Well, and it's so funny that you just said what you said about money and cash. And this also is why I always tell people, do not hold on to cash. This is not,
Inflation.
1900s and I know it sounds so long ago. I was born in the 1900s, but you know what I mean? Like it's not the 50s anymore where your grandparents were putting it in their sock drawer. It is literally losing value. And that's assets, right? Well, I could go on forever. I do want to say, if what you just heard about Bitcoin sounded like a foreign language, you are not alone. I am the same way. I'm a novice at best when it comes to tech. So don't feel like you're behind. Always learning. Bite size questions, friends, learn about it. It's not going anywhere. It is not going anywhere. And this is, of course, not investment advice. It's just for education.
Yes.
And I think it's something we should all know about.
Yes.
Do I think that investing in Bitcoin or digital assets is right for you? I don't know that because I don't know you and your situation. But ask the questions. Figure it out. It is not going anywhere. I just think it's something, learn. And so I know we've given you a ton. Learn to read labels. Health is wealth. Learn about what you're putting in your body. Learn about ways to make your money actually be valued in something. I mean, there's a lot here, and that's what it's all about. Don't feel overwhelmed. Start where you are. As we're wrapping up, what is one piece of financial advice that you would say that someone gave you throughout your life that has stuck with you?
That's an interesting question because I want to go back to health. Health literacy is the biggest investment that you can make as a mother, as a wife, because you're leading your family too. So if you take control of learning how your body and your mind function, that investment right there is going to carry you to make better decisions
everywhere else.
Yes, because cognitively, your mental capacity, now you have the capacity because you're healthy to learn about digital assets. Now you have the capacity to hire somebody like you to help me make better investment decisions. But if my mental and my physical health is not up to par, I won't be able to get there.
Every other aspect of your life will follow suit.
Yes.
I love that. Coming back to the basics, health is wealth.
Yes.
Well, where can people find you? We'll share all of this in the show notes, obviously, but where can people follow along on your entire journey, on one company that we talked about?
Yes. So I think the easiest way now is to find me on Instagram. It's Priscilla.Sachiko. And I have Prana Collection is tagged. I have Peptides, Peptide Serum Lab. I have all the links there.
Okay.
And I also have a podcast that I've been talking to women. It's been very
What's the name of the
educational.
podcast?
It's called Becoming Her Talks. So we're all becoming her, and we talk about it. So I think that Instagram is the easiest way, but every business I have also has a website. Find me there. Feel free to contact me anytime.
Oh my gosh, you guys, follow along, listen to her podcast. There's an abundance of things to learn, and I think that the heavy lifting on so much of this, you've simplified for all of us. So take advantage of it. And it was so much fun having you here. I would love to have you back and talk further about some of these things. But until we can make that happen, thank you for joining us. And for all of you listening, as always, it is such an honor that you spend a little bit of your time with me. Share the episodes, leave reviews, introduce it to your friends. I mean, this is where we really make a difference. And that's what it's all about, right? Changing the way women think and feel about money together. So until next time, I hope you are well. I hope you are healthy and wealthy. And we'll see you next time.